Today was one of those moments we'd all been waiting for, because Taeyoung and Jungkook finally did a live show together. At first, they were in separate rooms, each with their own unique atmosphere, but little by little, everything changed, and they ended up sharing the same space. It's as if they wanted to remind us that despite everything, they still have that connection that can't be broken by anything. From the start, the comfort between them was noticeable. Taeyoung started off with his calm style, while Jungkook, in another room, interacted in a relaxed manner. Between jokes and answers, the energy was light, but as soon as we saw them together in the same room, everything felt different, closer. They didn't do anything out of the ordinary, they were just there, laughing and talking as always, and that says more than any forced gesture. What's most surprising is how they complement each other without words. There were shared smiles, those small signs that always end up speaking volumes. No one can deny that there's something special between them. Some need to show everything for it to seem real, but that's not the case here. They share just enough, without overdoing it, and when they do, it feels sincere. As Taeyoung has said before, there are things they prefer to keep to themselves, and that's what makes everything seem more authentic. The moment with Namjoon was also interesting. He was in the same room with them, and the good vibe was palpable. Namjoon knows how to navigate those dynamics and accompanied them without stealing the spotlight, like someone who perfectly understands the bond between them. Meanwhile, other members participated from another room, but the focus remained on Taeyoung and Jungkook, because the connection they have is evident, even when they don't try to show it. Something many people forget is that they spend time together off camera. They've mentioned training together, sharing routines, and that doesn't always show up on social media. They don't need to fill everything with photos to prove something, because their relationship is built privately, not publicly. And when they decide to share something, it's because it truly comes from them, not because someone demands it. That's what makes everything feel so real and so far removed from any artificial ideas. Throughout the live, there were clear signs that nothing has changed between them, from the inside jokes to the glances that seemed to have a special meaning. Everything indicated that they remain just as united. The obstacles, the distance, and outside opinions haven't broken anything. On the contrary, it seems that every time they're together, they reaffirm that bond that seems impossible to break. For those of us who've been following their story for a while, what happened wasn't just entertainment. It was further proof that their relationship, whatever you want to call it, remains strong. There's no need to put labels on it. What matters is what they convey: trust, affection, and love. Every detail, no matter how small, makes that clear. And that, for those who believe in them, is more than enough. That live was one of those unforgettable moments. Taeyoung and Jungkook were together, hanging out with Namjoon. And just before Jimin entered, something happened that caught everyone's attention. Taeyoung approached Jungkook and hugged him as if no one else was watching. That hug, more than a simple display of affection, seemed to have a clear message: he's with me, and I have no problem letting them know it. Taeyoung hugged him calmly, leaning in slightly, allowing the distance between the two to practically disappear. It was clear that he wanted Jungkook to feel him close, and Jungkook didn't do anything to move away. On the contrary, he looked relaxed, as if it were the most normal thing in the world for them. This is something that has always marked the difference between their relationship and other interactions we've seen on camera. Because let's be honest, it's not the same as when someone tries to create a fun or romantic moment for the cameras. Like that time Jimin put his foot on Jungkook's. Remember his face? You could tell he was uncomfortable, even annoyed. And now, in this live, the expression was completely different. There was no tension, no awkwardness, just calm and connection. And while all this was happening, Namjoon's reaction was also sobering. He didn't try to interrupt or change the subject. Nothing. He stood there, calm, as if seeing Taeyoung hugging Jungkook was a common occurrence. And that, more than any gesture, speaks volumes. If it's normal for him, what does that tell us about what they're like when there are no cameras around? What's most striking is that it wasn't just a hug, it was the way Taeyoung stayed close the whole time, how he tilted his head slightly toward Jungkook, how he didn't seem to want to let go. Even when they were talking, there was a sense of comfort that you can't fake. Jungkook smiled softly, not one of those smiles that seem forced for the camera, but one that comes from being in a safe place, with someone who makes you feel good. And this isn't something new. Over the years, we've always seen signs, small moments that, when put together, show a pattern. They seek each other out. It doesn't matter if they're in the middle of a huge stage or on a live stream with millions watching, they always find a way to get closer. There's something about their relationship that goes beyond the idea of fan content. There were no fake laughs or planned moves here, it was a simple gesture, but one with an emotional charge that anyone can notice. Taeyoung made sure Jungkook knew he was there for him, and Jungkook accepted it with the same calmness with which you breathe. That's trust, something you can't fake when you know millions are watching every detail. As the broadcast continued, that energy between the two didn't disappear. Taeyoung stayed close whenever he could, with his caring way, and Jungkook let him, even looking for him. They're small things, but they're the ones that say the most, because when someone makes you uncomfortable, you notice it right away. And here, none of that was present. Many might say that it's all a simple game, that they're just friends and nothing more. And of course, friendship exists, no one denies it. But there's something about the way they look at each other, the way they touch without it seeming like a calculated act, that makes it hard to reduce it to that. It's not about turning every gesture into a test, but rather understanding what they convey without words, a real connection. And the best part is that you don't have to force anything to see it, you don't need to imagine scenes that don't exist. Just observe how they react to each other when they have the opportunity to be themselves. Because if this live made one thing clear, it's that when they're together, they don't care who's watching. There are no barriers, no fear. Just two people who understand each other and support each other. So yes, some will continue to say this is part of a script, but for those of us who saw every detail, every glance, every quiet smile, the conclusion is different. This isn't acting, it's something that simply feels real. And as long as they continue to share moments like this, they will continue to prove that there are bonds that go beyond any script. Taeyoung and Jungkook don't need to speak. That's clear every time they're together. The way they look at each other, touch each other, or lean on each other demonstrates a deep connection. But it's not something they do with everyone. It's something that exists only between the two of them, and it's so natural that it doesn't seem prepared. When they give each other massages, when they hold hands, when one of them adjusts their body to the other's, there's a pattern that repeats itself. It's not something you see once and that's it. It's constant. And when something repeats itself so much in a relationship, it's because it's part of who they are. In this case, those gestures only happen when they're around each other. It doesn't happen with others. It's not a group habit. It's an intimate routine that kicks in when they're together. There are moments before concerts where you can clearly see how they connect. While everyone else is getting ready, they're in their own world. One calms the other. One accompanies them with just a look or a soft word. It's as if they know the other is nervous or needs a special energy, and they're there to give it. Without seeking attention, without exaggerating. Just the two of them, with calm but very clear movements. That kind of behavior isn't built overnight, it's not an act or something done for the cameras. If it were, you'd have noticed a certain discomfort, a forced gesture, a sign that it's not theirs to be. But that never happens, every moment feels authentic. Their hands calmly search for each other. Their bodies adjust as if they already know exactly where they should be. Their gazes don't stray, they meet. That level of emotional coordination is what has caught the attention of Taekookers, who have long recognized that this dynamic is not common. Beyond the physical, there's something that builds over time, the security of being with someone who will always understand you, even in silence. Not everyone has that kind of understanding. And that's why what exists between Taeyoung and Jungkook is so special. There are details that, over time, become clear signs. The interesting thing about watching Taeyoung and Jungkook together is that there isn't just one way they express what they feel. There are many. And each of those ways is repeated so often that they can no longer be seen as mere coincidences. What they do isn't just a show of affection, it's a daily demonstration of a relationship that has grown strong, stable, and full of codes that only they understand. In different videos, they are seen sharing very personal moments, one speaking softly into the other's ear, the other responding with a calm smile. There's no distance between their bodies when they're close. It's as if all the space around them disappears for them. They are attentive to each other's small but meaningful things, from a hand gesture to a long, self-explanatory glance. One gesture that is repeated many times is how they settle into each other without thinking. That only happens when two people feel completely comfortable. It's not something learned, it's something that happens when one feels they belong next to the other. Taeyoung fans have noticed that this type of contact is not occasional. He appears in rehearsals, interviews, behind the scenes, even at times when they might be apart.